Are you looking for a pet sitter so that way you are able to go on your next vacation and not have to worry? Well, I recently interviewed a really great pet sitter here located in the Marion County area. Kaden has been doing it for quite some time, and she really does care about the pets that she sits. So I highly recommend her. She really seems like a great person, and I hope that you enjoy getting to know a little bit more about her if you decide to use her. All right, Kyden, tell us a little bit about what you do and how you got started doing it.
I'm Kyden. I am the owner of Graceful Paws Pet Care. And so I provide pet sitting services in the owner's home, so where the pets feel the most comfortable. So I have a background in social work. So I worked in social work for like 10 years. I was just really needing a break from the emotional toll that it was taking. And my best friend does pet sitting in New Jersey. So I kind of asked her about that, like, hey, how's that work as like a side hustle? So she told me a little bit about it, encouraged me to get on one of the pet care platforms, and I kind of never looked back. So in June of last year is when I opened up my LLC, Graceful Paws Pet Care. And yeah, I just kind of dove straight into it.
Just dove straight into it. Okay, that's super cool. So how long were you a social worker before that?
About 10 years.
Oh, about 10 years. Okay, my mom was a licensed social worker for 20 years before she became a realtor. So, and then,
wow,
yeah. So I definitely have gotten to hear a lot of different stories with social work. Now, did you do, what did you do in social work?
A lot of stuff.
Oh, okay.
But I did case management mostly.
Okay.
So mental health with adults. I did truancy, child welfare, medical social work, and then like vocational rehabilitation.
Okay. Yeah, no, my mom said when she did her internship right after she graduated, she ended up working at, there's a blind school in St. Augustine.
Okay.
And she worked there, and some of the stories that she had while working there were crazy. Those blind people were wild, and she would like go and help them. Like part of that vocational school was to help teach them like how to do jobs and stuff. So she would be like here at this laundromat folding laundry, and she was like, after I worked there for a year, I was like, I gotta get out of here and do something else.
Right.
I'm like, I don't think people realize like what social workers deal with when it comes to just everyday. It's just a lot.
It's tough.
It's tough, yeah. It's definitely not for the weak at heart, I can tell you that, Lord. It's like, I think it kind of prepared my mom to be a realtor because everything's always your fault. And as a social worker, everything's always your fault, too. So I think, it kind of prepared her for that.
Right.
I'm just curious, what did you like best of it? What did you like do the longest? Was it like child or elderly?
I enjoyed working with the adults mostly.
Okay.
So I did mental health for about 4 years. And then I went back to working with adults kind of recently, back in 2023, I guess. But I liked working with them the most because I felt like they had more autonomy. So working with kids is good, but you have to do everything through the parents, which, you wanted to go through the parents because obviously they're the authority figure. But I feel like with adults, you can be a little bit more real with them. They're really the authors of their own story. So it's just funner to work with them.
No, I agree. My mom did a lot of child welfare. Like she did that for the majority, and then she also later, like towards the end of her career, she did mostly nursing home, like case management, that kind of stuff. Because she said, I just can't. It was just too mentally exhausting to do the kids anymore. So my mom did a lot of stuff. So let's go back to pet sitting a little bit. What do you usually sit? Just dogs, cats, everything?
So right now I'm mainly focusing on dogs and cats and maybe smaller animals. So I've done some birds, ferrets, rabbits. I'd be open to like guinea pigs and things like that. I'm kind of dipping my toe into the farm care a little bit more.
Okay.
So I do have a mentor that I work with. And so she's kind of helped expose me a little bit to horses and pigs and goats. So in the future, I'd like to add the farm care, but right now just your typical household animals.
Yeah, no, farm care I actually grew up on a mini farm, so I used to kind of do some farm sitting for some people. I did alpacas at one point, and that was really fun and stressful. That was probably the most stressful thing because they spit so much, and it's just like, and they're very temperamental. Sometimes they would like me, sometimes they wouldn't. Like I could be there and like I'd go feed them in the morning and they'd be fine, and then I'd go feed them in the evening and they were like spitting at me, and I'm like, guys, knock it off. Or like they like. It's kind of funny. They'll hit you with their front paw, like their front hooves, almost like a horse, but I don't know. It's weird. They're a very strange animal. Let's put it that way. So when you go into farm care, get ready. It'll be a fun one. So how long have you been here in Marion County?
I moved here in 2020, so kind of when
COVID.
was
right.
Yep. And so I spent a little time in Orlando and then
Okay.
ended up coming back to Ocala just because I like it. It's growing a little bit, so it's kind of taking away a little bit of that small town charm. Um, but I like it because you can have your more city types and then you also still get your nice farmland. So,
Yeah, no, because Marion County is the second largest county in the state of Florida, so it does give like a level of mixture.
hmm
Most of it, I think, is in the Liberty Triangle area. So I don't know where you live at, but like I don't know. Do you know what I'm talking about in Liberty Triangle?
possibly.
Do you know where they're building all the new HOAs? Like I think it's Marion Ranch, and they
I
built the new
think so,
Publix out
yeah.
there. That's Liberty
Yeah,
Triangle.
yeah, okay.
So like it's all kind of like I think getting like put there with Marion Oaks because Marion Oaks is
hmm
huge too. I
Yeah.
did the math on that one time, and it was like I want to say it was like I don't remember like 22,000 homes or something like that could
Oh,
be there
wow.
because it's 22,000 acres of residential zone property. So it's like
Okay.
a lot.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's a big space. So it's like all kind of getting put into there, which is kind of a good thing. So how's it been living here in Marion County? Because where are you originally from?
All over.
All over? Okay.
Mostly New Jersey and just like up north.
Okay.
But yeah, Ocala is definitely very different from what I was used to. And I kind of like always pictured myself living more in the country, with farms and things like that. So it's kind of that, like I said before, that nice mixture of, I don't have to go super far to go out to dinner or something like that. But then also I can take a nice little drive down some country roads. So I love it.
Yeah, no, I like Marion County for that too. I definitely think I like taking day trips. I don't know about you, but I
hmm
feel like people that I've talked to that come from like New Jersey, Pennsylvania, New York, because you guys are used to like take in some places used to taking like public transport or like doing things like that. So it already
hmm
took you like an hour sometimes
Right.
to get from to get to like the bigger areas or whatever. So it living here and going an hour out to go somewhere isn't like that big of a deal. Correct me if I'm wrong, but that's like
hmm
I've noticed that
Yeah,
those
yeah.
groupings of
Everything was very far away. So like to go to the mall, you had to drive at least 30 minutes.
yeah, I know, because like I was talking to somebody, I don't remember where they're from in Pennsylvania, but they're looking to move here, and I was like, "Are you good with like having to like take day trips?" I was like, "Cause like you kind of have to drive
hmm
a little ways if you want something different from the norm, that mundane of what Marion County has." And she was like, "Yeah, no, I love doing that because
hmm
I have to do that anyway." And I was like, "Okay," I was
Right.
like, and then I recently went to New York over this past summer, and I kind of realized that too. Like I think I got a new perspective on people from up north that move here. It's
hmm
very
Yeah.
interesting. Anyway, now were you now you said mostly New Jersey, right? So you were,
hmm
so is that where you moved from to here in 2020?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
What made you move here?
So my parents retired down here. They're actually on the Gulf Coast near
Okay.
Weeki. And so I had he's my husband now, but met my boyfriend at the time. He was living in Ocala.
Oh.
And so then COVID hit and everything. And it was like, well, I'm either not going to see you till who knows when, or I'm just going to move up to Ocala. So
I think
that's what I did.
a lot of couples moved in with their significant other in 2020, and then like
hmm
they ended up getting married or they didn't. But I think a lot of people ended up getting married, so
Yeah.
it was kind of like pushed everybody in together quickly. It made things
hmm
escalate.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought that was it's kind of funny. Now, so how long have you been doing the pen setting again?
So full time for about a year.
Okay, full time for about a year. Okay, so have you had any interesting stories so far?
Interesting stories. Let me think. I feel like every pet sitting is definitely unique.
Okay,
So I haven't had any like bad, interesting stories. I'm
well
trying to
that's
think of
good.
like, yeah, funny, interesting stories. Maybe come back to that one.
Okay, we can come back to that. Now, do you stay in the homes too, or?
Yes. So I offer dog walking. So usually that's like if the owners are at work and they just maybe work longer shifts. I do drop ins. So sometimes that could be if they're at work or if they're on vacation. And then I do overnight sitting. So that's usually they're gone for quite a few days. So I will be able to be in the home and I do like their evening and morning routines and try to keep it as typical of a day as the dogs are used to.
Okay, I got you. Now, so what does a typical day look like for you then?
So it kind of depends on if I'm having an overnight or if I don't have an overnight. But if I do have an overnight, I'm usually there until about 8 o'clock in the morning. So I make sure that they get their morning routine done. And then I'll go out and start doing my stops for the day. So whether it's like letting a dog out to pee, scooping litter boxes, just whatever is on my plate. And then with the overnight, I'll try to be home by about 6 p.m. so I can start doing their dinner routines and just lots of snuggles on the couch and things like that. So yeah.
Yeah, no, that definitely sounds Busy, yeah. Now, do you get most of your work off of like the apps that you talked about, or do you get it through like referrals? Like, how does that work?
Referrals mostly.
Okay.
So I'm kind of moving away from the apps. So like I said, I got my LLC and everything. So I'm really trying to just keep it more on the private side of things. The apps are still definitely good because I get some free advertisement from it. But I'm really pushing into like some more self-advertisement, things like that, just to, yeah, make it like, I guess, feel like a real business.
Okay, and what areas do you typically do this in? Just in Marion or?
So Southwest Ocala. So
Okay.
I cover like Marion Oaks. I do a little bit of Northwest, kind of by like the equestrian center, but mainly that Southwest area.
Okay, so you really just, that's like your like little hot spot, I guess you
Yeah.
could say. Okay, that's pretty cool. I'm sure you're probably staying busy with like I was talking about with like all the new construction. Do you have like a lot of people that want you to do the drop-bys?
Yeah, so that's actually my biggest thing. I kind of figured overnights would be, but I get a lot of requests for the drop-ins. So like people who just, like you said, doing the day trips, maybe short little vacation trips, and they're just kind of like, we just need someone to pop in on the animals, play with them, keep them company, things like that.
Now, do you find your people to be like younger or older?
So right now it's been mostly like maybe 30s and 40s.
Okay, like working
Yeah.
professionals.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's typically who you deal with. And I'm sure it's in a lot of those like new construction areas too.
Yeah, I get a lot of like, oh, we're new to town, and we had an old pet sitter in the other state, and so.
Yeah, I know. I feel like I was listening to a podcast recently talking about pets. I don't remember what I was listening. It was actually about like people having children and like not having children, the whole birth rate thing. Which I'm not going to get into that, but it had to do with that a lot of people who would normally be having children have dogs, and so like dogs are like having this whole new, I don't know, this new thing in America with pets. And so I'm sure, I find it interesting that I feel like you being a pet sitter, it's like a good time to do that because a lot of people kind of view their dogs as their children in a lot of ways. And so they like want you to come and pet sit for them or like do those drop-bys and stuff where I feel like generations before would have just been like, dog will be fine, like moving along. Like I think there's like a different, different set of needs now for pets that there wasn't before. Have you like kind of seen that maybe in some ways?
Yeah, definitely. And like what's been most interesting to me is the cats. So
Okay.
like before, people usually think cats are very solitary. They don't need a whole lot of attention. They just kind of like do what they do. And so with some of the younger people that I'm working with, that younger professional age, they go all out for their cats now.
Interesting. Okay.
Which is really good. But I see like all the huge cat towers, and they'll have like things across the ceiling for them to jump on. And so that's been an interesting change to see that like cats are starting to have their spotlight too. They're kind of like, they're not just the cat anymore. They're definitely a member of the family.
I think people are partially realizing too that like if you're a young business professional, sometimes cats really are just easier. Like I think I kind of have realized that too because I have a cat. Her name's Mavis. She's a rescue, but technically she doesn't have a tail. And it's because she's like a Manx mixed with a Siamese. I think, to be honest, they ended up finding the mama cat pregnant, but I think it was somebody's breeder cat because they like mix Siamese and Manx together, and they make like this designer cat that's worth like $2,000-$3,000. Like my cat's coat and color and like super pretty cat, but like if somebody probably would steal her if she ever got out. Like I'm so serious because just the way that she looks. But I have realized being the professional that I am and like working and stuff that it's just easier in a lot of ways to deal with a cat versus if I had to have a dog. I don't have to train the cat. The cat's kind of self-sufficient. And I guess I could kind of train her. People do. That's like the new thing too with cats. Like they take cats on walks. Do you have cats? Do you have to walk? I'm curious about this.
I have one cat who does go on walks, but I don't have to take her on a walk.
Okay. I was just curious. I wonder if that's going to become a thing because I know with the what are they? They're like the bigger cats, the Maine Coons. They like people like outdoor train them like a dog. It's very interesting. So you might end up with one of those eventually. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe. I don't know. It's interesting. My cat hates the harness. I don't know if you have any cats or dogs.
No cats. I do have I have a little mini Australian Shepherd.
Oh, cute. Okay.
I also have 2 bunnies and then a jumping spider.
Oh boy, I don't know about the bunnies. I don't like rabbits very much.
Oh no.
They're not my favorite. I don't. My wife always wants to go, and she's like, "Can we get a bunny?" I'm like, "We can have a guinea pig, a ferret, anything but a bunny." It's just not. Because I grew up on a mini farm, we had meat rabbits, and so they're not very nice, and I just don't really like rabbits too much. They don't really like me, and I don't really like them. I think we have like a mutual understanding when it comes to dislike. Let's jump back to I guess what has been like maybe instead of an interesting or funny story, like probably what's been the like maybe the most interesting pet that you've sat like in I don't know, maybe like a show dog or something, I don't know.
Yeah, so most interesting pet that I have sat was probably I had a working dog. She was a German Shepherd, and so mom ended up in the hospital. She needed someone to take care of the dog for a little while. And it was interesting to see like the dog not being able to do all the tasks that it does for her mom. Brought out a lot of anxiety in the dog. So a lot of it was just trying to calm her, giving her like lick mats, Kongs, things like that. So that was very an interesting and very I learned a lot from that experience too. So yeah.
Do you often deal with dogs that have separation anxiety?
Um Here and there, yeah. So I notice it more in the German Shepherds, and then kind of like the smaller breeds, they tend to be a little more anxious when the owner goes away, so they'll like howl or bark. But then after, probably a day, they start to feel a little bit more comfortable and like, okay, I'm safe. So
Yeah, no, I mean, I could see a lot of animals these days tend to have like a separation anxiety. I think, again, it goes back to like people like treating them like their children. And so I think it's like kind of it's not always the best thing, but it just is kind of what it is. And you kind of have to deal with whatever comes with that.
yeah.
So what are some ways that you found like that have been most helpful for you with dealing with it? Because I feel like too, the owner may not even really realize that the animal's having those issues because they're not there. So you're like kind of, so how does that like all work, I guess?
So definitely getting them focused on like brain games. So I mentioned the lick mat, so that kind of like takes their mind off things. They have to really work at getting the treats that are in the mat, snuffle mats. So that's where like they're usually kind of like fluffy and you hide their food in it or hide treats in it and they get to use their nose to search for everything. The Kongs are really good. Exercise. So maybe going for a little bit of a longer walk or maybe multiple walks in a day. So just getting their brain tired, their body tired, and that seems to help a lot.
Okay, that's really cool. So now is that something that you like talk to the pet owner about, or did this like the pet owner already give you those things? Like, how does that work?
Yeah, so I have a questionnaire when people first spoke with me. So it goes over like a ton of stuff. But one of the questions is, are you okay if I give your dog different enrichment activities? What kind of things are you comfortable with them eating? And so usually they'll say yes. And so I have my own things, I sanitize them in between visits. But always, if I need it, I have it.
Okay, that's interesting and something different. I don't think a lot of pet sitters do that. I think it's kind of like a just let them in, let them do what they do, and like moving along. So what have you seen like the pros and cons now that you've been doing it like full time?
So pros just in general is obviously working with cute animals. um, I find like when I compare it to social work, especially, it's not as mentally draining as what I was doing before. I like that it gets me, active with the animals. I really love working with the high energy breeds, so they really like the walks and the playing. And then cons of it can be hard because your life starts to revolve around their schedules. So it's not your typical like 9 to 5 job. So I could be up in the morning to do a visit at 8 and then also have to be back there at 8 p.m. So it's been an interesting learning experience, just like revamping my life and kind of fitting things around it. But I love it. So.
So how's that work with like your work-life balance and your like husband?
So thankfully he's very understanding. For example, Thanksgiving was kind of tough because I had back-to-back visits the whole weekend. So we just kind of, chose a different day that was a little slower. So we did Thanksgiving a little bit later. We'll still squeeze in date nights, if I have a time block free. And then it's also really important that I'm scheduling days off for myself too. So it can be very tempting to say yes all of the time, but it's really important that I am still prioritizing myself too.
No, I think it's important as being like a small business owner that you like really take time for yourself and block off time. Like I do that with Sunday. So Sunday I typically either will go to church in the morning or I will sometimes we'll just take the day off. Because my wife's a school teacher, so her schedule and my schedule sometimes do not always like coexist very well because she'll work early and I sometimes tend to work late, especially like in the summers when I'm showing houses to people when they get off of work. And so I probably sometimes don't get home until like 8, 9 o'clock, and even when I do get home, I'm writing up contracts. So it's
Right.
kind of extreme. So I don't know what your husband does. I'm just curious.
So he is an assistant manager at one of the local car washes.
Okay.
So yeah, his schedule can be, sometimes he'll work the morning, sometimes he works late into the evening. So it works out. We find our time.
Okay, you're trying to work it out. Yeah, because your schedule's kind of like is semi-flexible-ish, ish, I guess. Now, so how long are you typically like booked out? Because I'm curious on that as well.
Yeah. So holidays I book up a lot faster. So like by the time October hit, I pretty much had November all full. But on the slower seasons, I don't tend to book out too far in advance. Overnights is a little harder because obviously I only have one overnight I can do. So I'm probably booked out like a couple months for the overnights.
Okay. And have you seen any like upticks since the snowbirds have come? Like, I could see maybe or no?
I don't think I've been here long enough to really gauge that because I was doing the pet sitting in St. Cloud before I came here.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Yeah, no, because I know, I mean, seasons in, a lot of times they go back and forth, or I know somebody, my mom actually lives in the Villages, and she knows somebody that makes like buku-oodles of money, like driving people's pets back and forth. Like he makes like 6 figures driving people's pets, like crazy.
Okay.
Like I could not, I don't know if I would want to deal with people's pets, like on a, 12-hour, 13-hour drive, but I mean, if they paid me as much as they pay him, I guess I'd go with it. I don't really know, but I was just curious if you like saw like a difference in, pickup with them being here, just because I could definitely see them going out doing what they're doing and living their life and enjoying being retired and being like, can you come let my dog out for me? Because I could, or like pet walking, I could see them doing all of that kind of stuff. So now I know you said you don't really use the apps anymore, but were the apps actually helpful in like you getting your business or no?
Yeah, I would say so. So the certain particular app that I was on, they'll prompt the owners for reviews. So that was really good to get started because when I started doing the LLC, I was able to tell people, you can go to my website over here. You can read all the reviews. They're verified. So it was a good way to get started.
Okay, that's awesome. Yeah, no, so what apps would you recommend to somebody if they're wanting to do it?
The only ones I really know of are Rover and Wag, but Rover's good because you can set your own prices.
Okay, now do they take like a share of whatever you do?
They do, and so that goes towards like the advertisement and obviously like upkeep on their end. But I mean, to me, it seems like a pretty fair trade-off.
Okay. So do you have any goals for 2025?
Definitely just to keep growing my business.
Okay. Do you like have any things like any like projected like what you'd like it to look like 5-year plan type thing? Because I know you're relatively new, so
Yeah. These are things I want to sit down and kind of go over a little bit more. But I'm hoping by the end of 2025, I'll be able to hire on my first employee. So right now, I'm just kind of working on that growth, advertisement, so that I'm able to start bringing people onto my team.
Okay, that's awesome. Where do you mostly just advertise on Facebook?
Yeah, Facebook for right now.
Yeah, I know. I find Facebook to be the best and the most like underrated attention because it's I think the only platform that you really can have like a social conversation. Like
Yeah.
like you and I met through there, like through my Facebook group, and I just can't do that through like Instagram or TikTok or YouTube. Like people talk to me like, where do you get your leads? Where do you do this? Where do you do that? And I'm like, mostly from Facebook. And they're like, really? And I'm like, yeah, because even if somebody posts on my YouTube video and they comment on it, I can't have like this one-on-one conversation with them. Like I can't build rapport. I can't talk to them. I can't help them. I can't do anything besides just answer their questions. So I think that's like the beauty of having Facebook as a tool that most people aren't utilizing it. So I mean, good kudos on you because I mean I don't really. I think I saw one today, like one other pet sitter, but I don't even think there's very many pet sitters like on my group, which is kind of interesting. I would have thought there would be more, but it's good for you.
We're definitely around.
I'm sure. Oh, I'm sure of that. But I don't know. I'm intrigued. Maybe they just use Rover like you had talked about. Or maybe it's more of a side gig for them instead of like a full-time. Is that something you see quite often like with your competition?
Yeah, so I'll do a little plug here. So this is where I need to make sure that I'm saying this correctly. So I am a part of what's called the Business Network of Ocala, Pet Business Network of Ocala and North Central Florida. So you had mentioned, my competition.
Yeah.
So within that group at least, and we're always trying to like get connected with other pet sitters. It's not competition. Like we are there to support each other. We all have different specialties. We cover different areas. So within our network, we try to do meetings monthly. It's been a little crazy with the holidays. But if we come across a client who's needing services and we're booked, or maybe it's just not the right fit for us, we have a whole group to be like, oh, can anyone cover this? So in that sense, it's really nice just to like, I have people that are backing me up, I'm backing other people up, and yeah.
So are they all pet sitters in that group, or they're just other pet, like, service providers?
Yeah, so we are mainly pet sitters, but we do have like a treat maker. Um, there was another person who does like Magna Wave stuff, so it's like I won't explain it because I don't really know, but it's like to
Okay.
help with pain and things like that.
Okay.
But we all have like our different specialties in the pet care industry.
Okay, that's interesting. Yeah, I'm sure that you get like quite a few horse people too, because
Yeah.
it's Marion County. We have lots of horses.
Mhm.
I mean, with the WEC and stuff, I don't know, it's just growing out there like crazy. That's like
Yeah.
kind of what's funneling that whole area there in Liberty Triangle is WEC, because most people are either working there or, I don't know, it's a lot. And they're supposed to be they'll have like a Whole Foods and a couple other things over there by the end of 2025. Yeah, no, it's exciting. So at the end of my podcast, what I always do is I always ask, if somebody's looking to do what you do, what would you tell them?
Definitely to get connected. So I already mentioned like the networking group, but it's really good to just find other people who are doing what you're doing so you can get mentored, you can learn from them, and then getting experience too. So whether that's, maybe volunteering at the Humane Society, things like that, so that you're kind of getting used to all different kinds of animals, different breeds, different sizes, but mainly just really getting connected so that you have a community of people that are around you supporting you.
Okay. Now, did you have like a mentor whenever you started?
So not when I was over in St. Cloud, but
Okay.
since coming here, there's actually a lady named Shannon Hendon. She's the owner of Ocala Pet Sitting, and so she's kind of taken on the role of my mentor. So I'm learning a lot from her.
Okay. So like, would you guys meet? What do you ask her questions? Like, how did you guys how did you end up meeting her?
So she's the one who is the owner of that networking group.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I just kind of went to one of their meetings one time and was like, hey, these are my people.
Now, where did you find the networking group? Like on social?
Yeah, Facebook.
On Facebook?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so do they I guess they're pretty active then, right?
Yeah.
Okay. If somebody wanted to join that, does it like cost a fee or anything like that?
Nope.
Okay, it's just like a free get together type.
Yeah.
Like just like almost, I think they have similar things for realtors too, like networking meetings and things like that. So it's just like something fun to do and to like collaborate with.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, do you guys do like any events or anything?
As of now, no.
Okay.
But maybe in 2025.
Okay, no, that's exciting. No, I love to hear people like collaborating. I think in real estate, I think we could use a little bit more of that. Most of the time it's competition based, and how I view it is I have like my set of people that I know, and they have their own specialties, and if I run into something that I know I can't deal with, or that maybe I don't want to deal with, because I'll be honest, I do 55 plus, don't get me wrong, I will deal with it, but it's not always my favorite thing to do. I like to do 55 plus. It doesn't want like on top of the world or the villages. I know that sounds weird, but I think it has to do with the people in me, and we don't always drive. So I either give it to my mom, or we have a couple other people here in the office that I'll give the lead to, and they're part of my team and I trust them. And so I think it sounds to me like kind of similar. Like you're learning how to deal with like the bigger animals and stuff. And you can kind of refer to them, which is nice to have like that grouping of people to support you, because it's important. Well, is there anything else that you wanted to add before we wrap up?
I don't think so.
You don't think so? Nothing else coming up? Nothing else exciting?
I don't think so.
No? That's okay. That's all good. All right. Well, I appreciate your time and you coming on and letting us know about you. And I hope you guys enjoyed this interview. I think it came out really great. And if you are looking for a really great pet sitter, I highly recommend her. She seems to be, so far, really great and nice. And I really like her energy. So I think you guys would, and she sounds like she really cares about your pets. So check back next week for another great episode. Thanks so much.